Hey everyone, this one is going to be a fun and exciting episode as I get to talk about choices in level design and how we increase the chance for players to use and what we can offer to help players make those choices. Hey everyone, I hope you're well, having a great morning, evening, or night, whenever that you are listening to this, and I hope that you're all playing and are making the games that you all love. You're joining me, your host, Max Pears, and it's great to be chatting with you all. I hope that you're all well, hope you're all safe, and hope that you're all having a good time, no matter what that you're doing. And so thank you very much for joining me on this show. Excuse me. Now, I do apologise because I've been trying to time this, but for some reason there's some drilling going on above in the apartment above me. Hopefully, it doesn't actually seep into this recording, so I'll talk a little bit louder just to try and make sure that you only hear this smooth jazz voice. Yes, you've all missed that tagline, but we're here with it again. Now, this one is kind of a fun one for me. I can't remember why or how I came onto this topic, but it was a nice one for sure, just to think about it. And just thinking about how we as LDs offer choices to the player, making sure that the player kind of has a sense that they're having an impact. And I bring that up even though if you're making a more linear game, you can still provide choices for players. It's not just about putting choices in massive open worlds or these bigger levels. Choices can be provided in any sort of level that you are currently crafting. And I want to be talking about that. And one of the reasons is choices and agency is such an important part on why we as people love games, because compared to that of a book or film, you're actually in control. You, the player, are in the driving seat. So we want to make it feel as much that is the player's story, or should we say, even if it's something like a character when you think of Geralt or Cloud Strife, we still want to make it feel that you helped, drive the story, that you and, for example, the character work together to create and dictate the overall story within the game. Sorry, just re-shifting my headphones. And yeah, so I think providing choices is such a big part of a level designer's job, honestly. Making sure that there are options for the player is really, really important. Because as I said, it really helps pull people in. Because if you're thinking about you're just walking down a corridor, even if it's just a straight line, that's not really engaging, because you're just moving forward. I think when you think about a lot of the backlash that certain games have gotten when they feel like it is a corridor level design, part of that, and I'm not sure if it's always mentioned, but I think when you break it down and go deeper into that, part of the reason is because there's lack of choice. The fact that they're just going and then they can see, this is where the designer wants me to go, so this is where I'll go, really kind of takes the people out of the zone. So we want to make sure that we're constantly keeping people within it. And the best way to do that is to engage them. When you think about, when you're at school and how you're being taught. I need to stop saying See, the more that we do this podcast, the more that I am hearing small things that I repeat and or say. So I'm trying to work on this so I sound more educated. But yes, when you're in a classroom, you're obviously just digesting the knowledge that's being shared with you. However, it's not always the most engaging. So a teacher will ask a question to see if you have been listening and that you have been taking it all in. So we are doing the same way, in the sense of now we're showing and presenting options for players to see if that they are paying attention, that they can now take control. So yeah, it's all on that, and I think it's a really important element for it. Okay, so now with kind of a sum up of why I believe choices are important and how it engages players, we're going to go into a bit more detail now. Okay, I can actually hear that you can hear some of the the noise from apartment above. So this is going to be a very strategical and timing recording in which I'm going to have to stop and start at each time I hear the construction continue. So yeah, great time, I guess, to get all of your DIY dreams done. So thank you, apartment above. But anyway, let's move forward. Okay, so let's break this down in a few different areas. The first one we're going to talk about is navigation. So we're talking about this as the traversal, the exploration sections of your level. These are what I'm referring to when I talk about that of navigation. And with that in mind, there's multiple ways that you can really offer different choices here. Now, the most obvious is that of different routes. And the best way that you can do this is even when you think about, and this is from the smallest example here with BioShock, a lot of the time they have a corridor leading in and then a T-junction because there's normally some sort of pillar, construction, wall in the center, kind of like a square. And then you can either go left or right. It will still lead you to the same point, and then you will just go from there. Now, that is a choice, and that even engages people more surprisingly than you may actually realize, because even just choosing left or right still makes people feel as if they're engaged, still gives them a sense of authority and that they are in control. So this is just one way. So think about when you do have what could potentially be a long corridor. We've already spoken about in previous episodes how you can choose to still work on it, on how you can break up a long straight kind of route in order to keep it more engaging. But this is another way to do this, and this has a benefit of, as we just mentioned, giving a choice. So a great way to just do a simple thing is going left and right and coming back in. Now, another way is you can do much more larger kind of separate routes in that itself. And you think of that of single-player games like either Uncharted or recently God of War, is they have routes that will lead, you can go left or right, and it's not just a simple turn a corner and you'll meet back where you should, you'll meet around the corner. Instead, these routes can vary from going all the way up top of a route to going further down. And that's very important here because you want the route to have an impact. So if you're just looking to break something up and add a bit more variety, a simple way is that of a similar way of BioShock, or you can actually go off and do much more in having the multiple routes. And as I said, when you're having more kind of elongated routes, you do want to make sure, oops, sorry, I'm hitting the mic too much. You do want to make sure that these routes feel different because the player might backtrack, they might have a conversation with another friend who's playing, and these kind of questions, or should we say conversations, are fantastic for this. Really helps to make it all add up and be like, whoa, you went this way and this happened? Fantastic, all that there. So by having a simple choice in your navigation, again, it spices it up. It makes the space feel larger than what it is. It can sell a more different side of the narrative and all of this. Now, I'll tell you what these two do actually have in common in terms of navigation. This is what you should probably make sure you do when you're offering multiple routes or choices, regardless of the size, is that they should all have a funnel point. Now, a funnel point is that where things all funnel in, again, hence the name funnel point, into one joint path. So they may go separate stages at some point, but at some later on they will rejoin and reconnect so that eventually you won't miss out on anything. Obviously, reasons is due to timing when you're making a game, as well as making sure that the player doesn't miss important beats. You don't want to have to script a cutscene for two different scenarios sometimes, all of that because of production costs. So all of that can come into your decisions. So make sure when you're doing this, again, add that funnel point to help reset the path again. It's okay to constantly have paths branching out and then rejoin at a middle point as well. That's perfectly fine. But generally, when you are having multiple paths, it's always good to rely on the funnel point as a great technique to help, again, reset the level, as in this is a joint point. So that's another way. So we've talked about different just breaking things up with the simple left or right turn, or going to full branching paths. Another way in navigation is through that of affordances as well. Affordances is a term for different kind of... Man, I'm trying to think about it, and mine's just drawn a blank. Affordances is that of kind of gameplay items which you can use, the affordance to use them, such as ladders, doors, ledges to climb, these sort of items. So kind of almost in a sense of mechanics in a sense as well. So you can use that for having differences as well to solve the puzzle, whether that be multiple ways that you can solve a navigational puzzle, or by having different affordances that the player can see, but maybe these affordances don't actually all lead to the overarching objective. From that of maybe there is a ladder further away, but there's a door into a separate room. Now these are both equal affordances, but the door perhaps doesn't actually lead you anywhere, but it leads you to some loot. But the ladder actually progresses you within the story and in the mission. But again, those choices are fantastic because the player has chosen to either go investigate or just to leave it because they believe that the ladder is in the correct direction. So yes, you can still have a number of choices in actually what the player can interact with as well when they're exploring your level. So another way. And again, this is all really important, right? It's important because all of this, as I mentioned before, is a way to keep people engaged. And these are what make a space feel memorable, and also it helps the level stop feeling very gamey. When you think about that of going to an actual space, it's not built for a level. All these real world examples that you see in these amazing, incredible games, they're obviously built for the purpose of the game. But as a level designer and with your environment artist, your job together is to make this space feel believable, and that this section of this world that we're in, it was actually used for a real life purpose, not just to be used in your game. Otherwise, as I mentioned, you get that feeling very gamey. The player starts to get broken away from the immersion, as well as not being hooked on the fact that they don't have much choice. So giving them a chance to explore, the choice to explore, all of this will really help. And those are a few different options that you can have for you. And think about it when you're doing portfolio pieces as well, right? When you think about just making a level, if you just had it where it was just straight A to B, that's really boring. It's by seeing, and the previous episode we mentioned the illusion of space as well, by having choices so the player can go off and see more, the illusion of space, seeing out into a window that there's a car park there, even if you may never see it or get to it, making it feel, again, that you are in a believable and very realistic space. All of that helps to make a level feel much more engaging and much more believable too.
At Level Design Lobby, we believe everybody has a story to tell. Hobbyist or student, freelancer or veteran, we made it our mission to unite those who share our passion for creating and developing great games. Thanks to our generous Patreon backers, we've been able to do just that. So if you've already pledged your support, thank you. If not, you too can ensure the future of Level Design Lobby, helping us to create even more exciting content, collaborations, interviews, and much more. With awesome perks and rewards, whether you're a seasoned professional or just getting started, you're sure to find something for you. Want to share tips, tricks, and advice with passionate, like-minded developers? Our awesome community Discord has you covered. Fancy practicing your level design, creating strong portfolio content, and having fun? Then try our level design weekends. Or perhaps you want to individually discuss your work, hone your skills, or level up your career? Then consider our one-on-one mentorships. If you share our vision, then go to patreon.com/level design lobby for more information and to pledge your support. Thank you.
Now that there was just the choice suggestions for navigation. Now the next one we have is actually going to be about an actual level as well. Now some games won't, we're going to break this down and talk about some very strong examples here, but not every game will allow you to do this. Some will have bigger restrictions, others will not. But when you talk about in a level itself, we're going to talk about a few things. This could be an open world encounter. For those of you who are a part of my Patreon, you'll know the task I just recently gave was that for an open world event in the Division, where I told you that there had to be 3 entrances into this event. And I got a lot of questions about this, and people felt very confused. And I felt that that was a really interesting sense of feedback, that people felt kind of confused and were questioning why they need to have all these entrances. But it's important to have that because, especially like an open world game, which we give with the Division in this example, is that you never tell where the player is coming from, and you don't want to always funnel them into one entrance if that entrance, say for example, if that entrance to that combat event is kind of in the middle of a street. So that way players can come in multiple ways, but they need to be aware of the danger that they're coming in as well. So there's already, just what we mentioned there, a choice of entrances, the way that the player can enter a point. Now, some of these events, especially in open worlds, will be replayable. Other ones may not be. But again, when we're talking about the power of the word of mouth, that can change how you view an entire event. You get to strategize, talk with your friends about how they solved it, how you solved it. But that choice of how you come in not only shows that it's a great level for an open world purpose, but also shows how important it is to have these, so the player doesn't have a duller experience or a worse experience when they're coming at this from just one and only entry point. You don't really want that, because it can be frustrating as well. Now, that's just one example of multiple entrance points. Other great examples can come from different play styles and how the player actually scopes up their character. When you think about that of Deus Ex, Dishonored, all these kind of more simulation style games, there are so many ways that the player can interact and so many choices that the player has when they're going through these spaces. This can be coming from, and especially that of Hitman as well. Hitman's a great example too, actually. That you've got all these choices that it's on you to plan. And we were making these levels like that, especially that of the Hitman. I'd love to pick some of the LD's brains on Hitman, because I think, my goodness, the amount of options you must, just the amount of thought that goes into those levels, I think is so impressive. In those levels, it's about how do you facilitate the choices that the player has made in those, either the RPG design that they've chosen to level themselves up, the skills that they've given themselves, and making sure that those skills are actually useful and fulfilled within your level too. And that's a really big one and a really important one there, team, is to communicate firstly with your gameplay team, so that you know what the options are for the player, so then you can facilitate their choices. So they may not make firstly the choice to in your level. These choices could have been made way back in terms of the leveling up screen, and having that again push through. So now if we've got super strength, we can move an arcade machine and maybe out of the way to get access to a vent. Maybe we can use their blink ability and able to blip up to a higher route that we wouldn't get if we didn't choose this power up. All of these kind of choices need to be reaffirmed and reasserted in your level choice as well. So if it is that kind of element of RPG, think about how you facilitate the choices for the player. Now, not every, and you can even break it down, because Deus Ex and Dishonored are very, they have similarities but differences. One of the big differences is when you choose a certain upgrade in Deus Ex, the path is a lot clearer. If you're trying to be stealthy and pick more of the hacking kind of routes, it's clearer than this should be the vent for this area, that this will give me access to the computer, while Dishonored has more kind of less linear maps, and the path is much more used for you to mix up your skills. Both valid and phenomenal level design, in my opinion, from both of these. But again, giving the choice to use that is a really, really important one. And yeah, that's just what I wanted to give out there. Now, with that said, we're going to move on to choices in combat. And this one is similar to that of navigation, where this is on us more than anyone else now. Now that we're building the space, the choices of RPG mechanics probably going to play somewhat into this, but less so. In combat, you've got to think about many things, but right off the bat, it's about choices and how to actually handle and deal with these enemies. it can be as simple as we just talked about Division. You don't have stealth mechanics compared to that of Dishonored Deus Ex. However, the choice is in more on, one, how close do I want to get to certain enemies? Because you do have different takedowns, but also who do I want to take out first? So I need to align myself in cover. So right off the bat, in terms of choices, is cover options. And then from there will be different route options. So you can build like cover that leads you around a certain way up to a higher vantage point. Those are some of the choices right off the bat you have to think about in combat. Another choice that you can think about is that of flanking routes as well, giving the player a chance to outwit and outsmart. These sort of elements add into it. So as you can see, there's different points that come together to help make choices for it. Not only that, we mentioned about gameplay and RPG mechanics, but another choice in combat is that of the use of mechanics like explosives, right? With the red barrels being very cliche, but really well known. Think about how you can place them for players to use it to either lure enemies towards it, to shoot and take it out, or do they just want to start off the mission by shooting that and taking the chance by only taking one enemy out, versus maybe they alert the enemies, but now they're all rushing at them and you use it to take out multiple instead of one. Again, these choices make the player feel that, one, they're in control, but also reward them and make them feel very intelligent too. And again, really important stuff there, team. So these are just a small amount of choices. There is a lot more. I'm just giving some small examples here just to help you think of different ideas. You'll see them when you play games, trust me. But what I'm just sharing you is some great examples for a great topic, and really important, telling you giving the player choices can really separate your level from being that of a very kind of junior level to a more intermediate inspired level. All of these will come in and play a huge role in it, team. Okay, everyone, this is where we're going to wrap things up. So if you do want to reach out to me, maybe you want to ask some questions, do another topic, then please contact me on Twitter, which is @MaxPairs, where I do bite-size LD tips, or you can email that in to leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. If you want to support the show, then please head over to patreon.com/leveldesignlobby. Thank you to all who have currently supported. It's because of you that we're able to make such great content and keep improving it as well. All right, everyone, take it easy, and I'll catch you all next time.